The Pacers crush the Sacramento Kings, their biggest win of the season by far. A dominant second half. The ball movement continues to shine. Ben Mathurin keeps doing stuff that stands out. The little details are everywhere. Everyone's chipping in. Highlights from guys who barely play. We'll get to all of it today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, y'all? Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes, and today, boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to get into. The Pacers win again, their fourth in a row. It's officially their longest winning streak of the season. They've won 4 in a row on the road, 3 of them against like quality-ish teams, I would say, or at least good individual opponents. They're playing much better by the eye test and by the numbers, stomping a lot of these teams 1 point away from all 4 of the wins by double digits. They look great right now, and they did it again in Sacramento, thumping the Kings. Their second half was awesome. So much to discuss from that game, how the Pacers are doing this, why this game was their best in particular, individual performances that really stood out to me for one reason or the other. In fact, I think the starter with the fewest points is going to get talked about the most for me, and the little details that showed how the Pacers got it done. The Pacers crushed the Kings. I mean, just pulled their pants down and embarrassed them in front of the whole class. 122-95 is the final. And that score is a very interesting way to tell you what happened in this game, because it was tied at halftime at 52 after a Malik Monk floater-ish thing just before the halftime buzzer. And then the Pacers just destroyed Sacramento the rest of the way. 70-43 in the second half is how the Pacers got this done. Both of those numbers are awesome. 122 is awesome. 95 is spectacular. This team continues to look okay on defense. We'll see if that continues in Golden State tonight. But a very impressive game from the Pacers. Where I want to start is by talking about something that I've been saying, and I'm going to try to quantify, but just broadly discuss. And that is the passing and purpose we've seen from the Pacers recently. If you've watched the games, I don't have to really explain what I'm saying to you. But if you haven't, or you're trying to get a sense of why the Pacers are playing better, they're passing with purpose now, right? Everything they're doing feels more intentional. And I think this kind of dates back to the game they played against Chicago a couple weeks ago when they went 18 for 29 from 3 and scored 132 points. And after that game, they talked about how they went through all their offensive principles and rehashed everything, and they looked awesome that night. Then they fell flat on their face 2 games after that against the Hornets. But since then, they've had all this practice time to really hammer that stuff out. And their offense looks way better, way better. And I think the consequences of what you get as a team, as the Pacers, when you play the way they want, where it's not that you're passing a lot, it's that you're passing a lot with purpose, right? They were second in the NBA in passes for much of the season, wasn't creating anything. And right now it's creating a lot, because the second they see the defender rotating, they kick it out. Or the second that there's a mismatch, they get it there. They don't take them forever to get there. Or if the ball is stalling, someone actually attacks instead of just throwing it around the perimeter. There's way less moments where the ball is sticking to someone, or the Pacers are really focused way too much on one matchup, or anything like that. And it's the players who a lot of fans blame as the culprits for the reason they weren't playing like that before are not playing like that anymore at all. I think the team is just playing better, and there's a lot of credit for that. I also think Andrew Nembhard's return and Ben Shepherd's now are big factors in this. Those two looked awesome in this game, but the passing with purpose just has looked so crisp for the Pacers. And this game specifically stands out for that, because they had 35 assists on 50 made shots, 35 assists, the Pacers most of the season. The Kings as a team made 35 shots. So the Pacers had that many they set up with a pass, right? Just terrific offense from the Pacers in this game. And I think you can numerically look at the way the Pacers are passing a little bit and get a sense of this. So let's be clear that, like, what is an assist, right? An assist is someone passes to someone else who scores. So obviously, a lot of assists means you made a lot of shots, because you have to make a shot to get an assist. So also, obviously, lots of assists are going to come in games, or you're going to have a good record in games you have a lot of assists, because that means you made a lot of shots. So this game, Pacers had 35 assists. It was their 13th game this season with 30 or more assists. 9-2 in those games. Now, here's what I think is an important distinction, right? Some of the earlier games of the season where they had 30-plus assists was more the shot making was the impressive part and not the passing. What is different now is the passing is making the shots open, which makes the assist number not just about the Pacers as a team making shots from passes, but actually using constructive passing to score. My evidence for that would be of their 13 games where they've had 30 or more assists, 5 of them have been within their last 6 games. They've won 5 of their last 6, and in the 5 wins they had 30 or more assists, and then against Charlotte they had 23. And guess what? In that game, everybody who watched it knows they slowed things down. They tried to mismatch Hunt, or TJ McConnell just destroyed Nick Richards without having to pass over and over, and they didn't end up with as many assists. And that worked great for McConnell and did not work well for anybody else. So, and that's not a criticism of McConnell, it's just reality. So that points to what's actually happening here is they are passing in ways that set up their teammates, but the passing with purpose really shows that almost half, 5 of 13 is not almost half, a good percentage of their best passing leading to scoring chances games have been in the last 15 days, right? That Chicago game that started this stretch of good play was on December 8th, and they had a big gap between some of the games here. That was December 6th. So that was barely over 2 weeks ago, and they have just been awesome with the passing. So 35 in this Kings game, that's a season high, but all else in this stretch, they had 33 in Chicago, 35 in Philadelphia, 33 against New Orleans, and 30 in Phoenix. And so that is numerical, right? I can put all of these evidence points together to tell you that the Pacers are passing with more purpose, and it's everybody, right? It's not just the guys who you expect to see their assist number spike or the guys who were the high assist guys last year. And don't get me wrong, those guys are a big part of this. 18 of the Pacers' 35 assists in this game, that's over half, came from Tyrese Haliburton or TJ McConnell. McConnell had 10. McConnell was awesome. He sniffed a triple-double. We'll get to individual performances later. Haliburton was the only guy to play over 30 minutes. He had 8 assists himself, but only 1 turnover. McConnell only had 1 turnover. These are all big factors in this as well. I think turnovers are a part of passing with purpose too, but it's really the whole team, right? That means 17 assists came from not those guys. 3 from Ben Mathurin. That's great for him. 3 for Siakam. 4 for Nembhard. 2 from Jarris Walker. The ball's just moving well. And I think that's what stood out to me about the Pacers' offensive surge in this stretch is, look, I just explained it all with some numbers, right? And that's a little too in the weeds for some people. But if you've watched the games, you can just tell, right? Everybody's moving and connected and on a string in a way that is so hard for these other teams to defend. And that's how they played last year. When they would describe it to us and to everyone, we played randomly. We want to play random, right? And that sounds chaotic and crazy, but it's only random if you don't know what you're doing or if your opponent doesn't know what you're doing. They know what they're doing. They know how to flow and keep it going. And that's what's happening to me. They're more like that, where they know what they're doing and they know where to go and they know how to flow from action to action, and they can connect the dots on how to get a mismatch to the right guy or when to attack or where the holes are going to be to drive and start a passing sequence. And the defense doesn't know how to do that. There was one moment of this game where the Kings went zone and it flustered the Pacers for a little bit, and then they got right through it. Jarris Walker in the middle. TJ McConnell cut through the top of the defense. Boom, boom, boom. Corner threes are flying. Points are coming. That has been huge. So how did the Pacers tear up the Kings? Passing, leading to points for the 4th game in a row and 5th out of 6th. They look awesome in that way. The flip side of this is doing a little bit better with the turnovers. Only 9 in Phoenix, only 10 in Philly, only 10 in Chicago. They did have too many against New Orleans, but New Orleans sucked. They still ran them over. But a big part of their passing with purpose is they don't throw bad passes. And in this game, a big part of that showed up again where, they had 10 turnovers in this game, but I believe Rick Carlisle made a point to say in this video that Pacers posted, 0 points off turnovers in the second half for the Kings, right? And that's just huge for the Pacers defense. They only gave up 95. I want to talk about their defense a little bit in a later podcast this week because I think it's been better. But to me, the standout thing for this Pacers stretch and something that is totally sustainable to me because this is how they played a lot last year. We'll see because they've been so inconsistent this year. But if they can keep passing with purpose and moving the ball like a team that's very well connected and understands their offensive principles and now has proof of concept that even with a new team with new dynamics this year, they can still win playing this way. If they can keep doing this, they can hang with anybody. Yeah, I get it. The Kings and Suns are not playing the best right now, but those are quality teams. Kevin Durant's out there. They beat Joel Embiid and Paul George, and Devin Booker played a half, and Bradley Beal and Sabonis and Fox. They beat them all. They beat them all pretty handily in most cases. This team is playing very well, and I think that has been the biggest change in what we saw before that Chicago game where things changed to now. Passing with purpose. So many little details in this game I want to get to, plus some individual performances. Everybody chipping in as the Pacers get to 14-15. They're tied for 7th in the East, everybody. They are half a game out of 6th. That's insane. To me, the East is not very good, but the Pacers are surging. Can they keep it up? What else do you need to know from Pacers Kings? We'll get to it all right here on Locked On Pacers in just a second. Before we get to any of that, though, got to talk to you guys about Skylight. Are you missing someone this holiday season and want them to be a part of your festivities from afar? Or do your loved ones live far away, but you wish they could feel closer to you? Well, Skylight Frames is for you. They've got the perfect gift for you. It's a touchscreen digital photo frame your whole family will love. Upload thousands of photos with their phone. Watch them appear in seconds. My grandparents have one. It's amazing. It's fantastic setup. It was super easy. It takes like a minute, probably even less than that. Now you can invite friends and family to easily just share photos right there with their little app, or you can even do it via email. There's no subscription required. You can add new photos straight from your phone from anywhere. It's super easy. There's a touchscreen on there so you can swipe through them. It looks nice in your home. There's 2 sizes now. It's way better than social media because it's like private. So you're not posting it to the world, but you're still sharing it with your family. It is truly sensational. And now, as a special limited time offer for our listeners, get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight Frame when you go to skylightframe.com/NBA. That's SKYLIGHTFRAME.com/LockedOnNBA. Get $20 off of your purchase now at skylightframe.com/NBA. Back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Make your second listen Locked On Kings. I already listened to it. Matt George crushing it. Talking about a Kings team in free fall. 4th straight loss for the Kings, and Matt had a crazy stat. The Kings now lead the NBA in home losses. They're tied with the Wizards. That is crazy. That is crazy. They feel like they have talent. They don't feel like they're playing awful, and then their record's not very good. I'll also check out Locked On Hoosiers. I'm still wearing my IU stuff. I'm proud of the season they had. That game sucked. They looked awful Friday night. Very disappointing result-wise, but fun year. And shout out to Notre Dame. They deserved it. They crushed. They looked really good. Off the football, back to the basketball. Pacers looked awesome. They looked like Notre Dame in Sacramento, just running through the Kings. Couple players I want to talk about, a couple details I want to get to. Here's how much the Pacers dominated this game. They were clowning Sacramento in the final 3 minutes. An all-bench group came in mostly. This was a back-to-back, night number 1 for the Pacers. So a very big deal. They were able to rest starters for really the fourth quarter. Myles did not play in the fourth quarter. He played under 25 minutes, and we will get to him. He was terrific. Thomas Bryant played almost the whole fourth quarter. Pacers dominated that quarter. That's why his plus-minus looks amazing. And in that fourth, for a lot of the late stretch, the lineup on the floor was Ben Mathurin, who they needed one rotation guy to play late because the two-way guys are in Orlando for the G League showcase, and Aaron Nesmith's out. Ben Mathurin was the guy. And then James Johnson, Johnny Furphy, Jarris Walker, and Thomas Bryant. That was the closing group. That was the benches have cleared group. And without 2 minutes to go, Jarris Walker, holy cow, got kind of stuck at the top of the key, stepped past some defenders, launched the ball off the backboard in front of him. Looked like it was going to be a self-pass alley-oop, which are always fun and crazy plays. Instead, right after he gets around a screen and is trapped, he jumps up, catches it between 4 Kings defenders, and then turns to his right and flings it right on the dot to Thomas Bryant in the corner. Thomas Bryant holds his follow-through all the way down the floor, points up. Whole Pacers bench goes crazy. That put the Pacers up by 30 at the time, 120-90. They did not end up winning by 30. Still the Pacers' biggest win of the season by over 12 points. Then, not very long after that, James Johnson, in fact, I think it was the Pacers' next possession, maybe 2 possessions later, catches it on the right wing, dribbles right at his defender, kind of beats him on the baseline, shakes back under the rim again, beats another defender with a crossover, flips it to Johnny Furphy for a poster dunk. Johnny Furphy's first poster in the NBA. James Johnson's beating someone in isolation. When Jarris Walker is freestyling off the backboard and James Johnson is beating defenders in isolation, you might have a team's number that night. They were terrific plays, and that shows something that stood out to me in Phoenix as well, and really a lot of recent Pacers games. Everybody's bought into a role and is playing very well. It's like no one is playing so poorly for the Pacers right now. There'll be one guy that everybody points to that shot 22% tonight that I actually thought played pretty well despite shooting that poorly from the field. A lot is going right for the Pacers, and I think that's been buy-in from everybody to make that happen. I know that's just 2 little plays late in a game that was totally decided by that point, but they were really fun and I think showed just how much control and confidence the Pacers had in this game. A couple of guys I want to talk about here first up is going to surprise you, and that's Ben Mathurin. Every player who played for the Pacers and played real minutes, and I mean this, every single one, shot 50% or better, except for Ben Mathurin. He was 2 for 9. And I am going to compliment the many things he did well in this game because Ben Mathurin played 30 minutes and was plus 27. No one else on the Pacers was even plus 20. And I know plus minus single game can be super funky and full of noise. And in this case, it might be that Ben Mathurin just closed the game when the Pacers were on a run, but way better than any other starter. And he played 30 minutes, which means he played a lot with the starters and lots of other guys. Here's what Ben Mathurin did not do in this game. He did not make shots. He missed 2 layups in a row. He missed all his threes. He did not get to the foul line. Let me say that again. Ben Mathurin did not get to the foul line. That's only the 3rd time this season he did not take a free throw. The other 2 times that happened, once was in Houston. He had 0 assists and 4 turnovers that night. The other time was against Miami I believe that was the Pacers bench everybody game. He was 4 for 11 with 1 assist and 2 turnovers. Tonight, Ben Mathurin, well, he was not scoring the ball very well, had 3 assists and only 1 turnover. He had a block as well. He had 8 rebounds. In the other 2 games, he had no free throw attempts. He had 9 total across both games. And he defended his butt off again. He, in Philly, was very good defensively, sometimes on Paul George, sometimes on someone else. He was very good against the Pelicans defensively. And in this game, he sometimes had the DeRozan matchup. He sometimes had the Malik Monk matchup. He sometimes had the Fox matchup, depending on who he was out there with, Nembhard, Haliburton, whoever. And he did pretty well against everybody. DeRozan was 1 for 7 with 2 points. I'm not putting this all on Mathurin, but a lot of these guys struggled with Mathurin defending them. DeRozan has destroyed the Pacers for years. You couldn't even tell he was on the floor in this game half the time. Again, not exclusively Mathurin, but he did a good job there. De'Aaron Fox was awesome early and then really faded away. He was 7 for 19 with 23 points. And Malik Monk was 6 for 16 with 14 points, more shots than points. Nembhard deserves a lot of credit there. He's a very good guard defender. He can only guard one of them. Shepherd does too. Mathurin in this game had 4 points on 2 for 9 shooting. That is usually a death sentence for his impact. Instead, he hit the glass hard, passed it very well, took a catch and shoot in rhythm 3 in transition. That is something he usually doesn't do, and defended pretty well. I get that this stretch has been rough for him recently. Not gonna pretend like he's playing awesome. In fact, he hasn't shot over 50% in a game since November, right? But he's had a couple of these games now where he does a ton of good stuff that isn't scoring, right? They beat Philly. He had 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and defended really well. Like I said, 6 boards against New Orleans, and he had half his shots in that game. 7, a bunch of trips to the foul line in Chicago when his shot wasn't totally falling, right? I think that this is not the Ben Mathurin part of Ben Mathurin's game where you think of him ISO scoring, being a beast in that way. Not ISO, but you know what I mean. In the flow of the Pacers offense, he's doing all the other stuff right now. And eventually the goal is for the Pacers and for Ben Mathurin to have all this blend perfectly. And early in the season, it was more towards the Ben Mathurin part, and now it's more towards the Pacers part. And he's doing a much better job than he has in the past of blending his game. And he really stood out to me in that way today, even though he was 2 for 9. Myles Turner deserves a ton of talk if we're talking standouts right now too. Man, was he good. I mean, some have said one of his best games of the season on Twitter, despite his stat line not looking insane. And I totally agree. Myles Turner, 24 minutes and 51 seconds of play. Huge for the Pacers, given the minutes they put on Turner this year, given their center situation, that they were able to rest him for the whole 4th quarter and get away with it. And it wasn't even like Toppin was good, but wasn't like so sensational. It's not like they went small and that's how they saved it. Thomas Bryant just played. That's a big part of that trade. But Myles Turner was amazing in this game. And a lot of you people are going to very lazily say, well, Domantas Sabonis had 21 rebounds. Surely Sabonis was way better than Turner. Sabonis did have 21 rebounds. I bet of his 8 offensive rebounds, without looking, 6 of them were off his own miss. So take those out. That's 15. That's still a lot. But that's the only thing I thought Sabonis did well against Turner. Sabonis was 8 for 22 in this game, and Turner was perfect in his defense on him. Turns out when you go against a guy in practice for years, You know his tendencies really well. You know what shoulder he's going to try to go to. You know he can't spin over his left shoulder and go right that much, although Sabonis did hit a righty layup. And Turner was sitting on him perfectly, blocking shots, defending the paint against other Kings players as well. 2 steals and 2 blocks for Turner. 1 assist for Myles as well. 6 rebounds for Myles in the end, and 15 points on 7 for 9 shooting. He made all 6 of his 2-point shots, including a very impressive long 2 bailout at the end of the shot clock in the second half when everything was clicking for the Pacers. He just battled and was physical in ways that he isn't always every night in this game, and it really stood out against a team that I wondered if the front court battle would decide this game. Obviously, Fox, DeRozan, and Monk can be incredible, but when Haliburton and Nembhard are playing like they have been recently, I think they can. Pacers can keep up in that backcourt matchup, and I thought that at worst would be, a Kings favored thing. But the front court battle could have been a mess if Sabonis went crazy or, Siakam didn't quite have the night he needed to. Then that could have gone screwy, especially with Keegan Murray being a pretty good player at times this year. Instead, Turner dominated down low. He was so good in this game. He could be trusted against an all-NBA level center, and he was great. He fits the Pacers so well for nights like that. Really, really great Myles Turner game. Him and Mathurin specifically stood out because of the way they stepped up in challenging roles or circumstances. Lots of other guys were good, though, and an everyone chip in kind of night as the Pacers continue to surge. We'll talk about that and a little Warriors to close out today's show. Before we talk about any of that, though, we got to talk about Built. This episode is sponsored by Built Rewards. If you're a renter, listen up. This is a total game changer. Thanks to Built, you can now earn points on rent payments just like you do with groceries or travel. Paying rent now comes with serious perks, and it's completely free to join. Earn valuable Built Rewards points on your rent and everyday spending at no extra cost. You can redeem points towards flights, hotel stays, and even future rent payments. With over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels in their program, the possibilities are endless. Access unique experiences that are exclusive to Built members. I love using the points for travel. Built makes it so easy to turn rent into rewards. If you're already paying rent, why not make it work for you? Start earning points on your rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt, BILT.com/LockedOnNBA. That's joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure you use our links. They know that we sent you. Join Built now. Don't wait. Start earning rewards today. Also got to talk about the great people over at FanDuel. NFL playoffs are almost here. NBA's rocking after the NBA Cup. It's never too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel. They're America's #1 sportsbook because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. How about that? FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. You can bet on which players will score a touchdown and how many points each team will score. Super thrilling stuff. You can also do first touchdown scores, over-unders, all the stuff that you like. FanDuel has bets for, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Back here once again on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Our second listen could be Locked On Kings because of De'Aaron Fox trade stuff, or Locked On Thunder, the most recent big transaction in the NBA. Alex Caruso, max extension possible for him and his cap reality. Could be a good deal. He's a very good and very impactful player. Could be a scary deal. He gets hurt a lot, doesn't play that many minutes per game. I'm on the good side, and I think Rylan Stiles is too on Locked On Thunder. You can check it out to hear more. Let's keep going here. Wrapping up this Pacers-Kings destruction on Locked On Pacers. There's so many guys I want to talk about the things they did well. And one of them is Tyrese Haliburton, because I think his game has been really interesting these last couple. 14-8 for Haliburton in this game with only 1 turnover, 5 boards. He took a 2-point shot in the fourth quarter, I believe it was early in the fourth quarter, actually. Put the Pacers up a bunch, immediately timeout. That was his first 2-point shot he took since there were 10 seconds to go in the Pacers win over the Pelicans. He went a full game and then 3 more quarters and then a couple more minutes on top of that 10 seconds without taking a 2. And that's really interesting because early in the season when his 3 wasn't falling at all, and it helps that his 3 has been falling these last couple games, everybody said, drive, including me. I said, he needs to get to the cup more. And here's the difference. Now, everybody's watching the games and they have a brain. they can see that he is driving. He's just not shooting very much in the paint, which has been interesting. He's a good finisher. He's a good scorer there. But his passing from in the paint to out, especially as the Pacers move the ball much better, has not really required him to score from two. 4 for 9 from deep after a slow start to, I think he missed his first three and then got hot against his old team. He was feeling it. He looked great after that slow start. And when he's on the floor, he just commands attention. Plus 15, highest besides Ben Mathurin besides Ben Mathurin and Thomas Bryant on the Pacers. I continue to think this is a very interesting evolution of his game, clearly playing better since early in the season, now above league average on three-point percentage for the year, continues to play better, and very unique to see him take this few twos as the Pacers offense hums. Injured Emhard was sensational, 5 for 6, only missed a 2, 4 assists. His defense has changed everything for the Pacers recently, taking on very tough assignments. De'Aaron Fox a lot in this game. Tyrese Maxey last week, DeJounte Murray earlier this week, Booker or Beal. I mean, his return to action has changed a lot for the Pacers, and I don't think it's a coincidence that the very first game, I'll keep saying this, that he was able to play beyond halftime after he returned from injury was in Chicago. And when do most people feel like the Pacers have kind of turned their fortunes of late? Was that night in Chicago. Siakam was awesome. He started slow in the first half, following up one of his best games of the season. Third quarter, he was everything. He couldn't miss in that frame, so much so that usually here, you guys know how it goes. Obi Toppin comes in, and then it's Toppin and Siakam in the front court, and then Siakam comes out, and it's Toppin Bryant or Toppin Turner or whatever. Instead, when usually Siakam comes out late in the quarter, Toppin came out, and usually it's Toppin coming in for Siakam, and so Siakam played the whole quarter. He didn't miss in the quarter. He was so steady. The Kings had Trey Lyles and Doug McDermott in there. They don't have a very big team outside of their actual centers. And Siakam said, okay, that's great. I'm just going to score. I'm just going to push them around and force the Kings to switch and score. And he did. He just shot all over those guys in this game. It was very funny. Lots of ex-Pacers that the current Pacers picked on in this one. McDermott minus 12 in 18 minutes. Sabonis minus 26 in his 31 and a half minutes. The Sabonis having a good year. McDermott did hit a three. It was, in fact, a road game for the Pacers, so Doug McDermott did hit a three. But Siakam was huge in that quarter, and that was the Pacers' best quarter in the competitive portion of the game. So every starter was good. Toppin was great again. Hit half his shots, had 3 boards, plus 11. He's just been huge for the pace. TJ McConnell was awesome after a poor first half in Phoenix. He's been really good ever since. He was 6 for 11. He saved the Pacers in this game to me by getting them through that zone. The Kings went zone again. It's very interesting to me because I understand where opponents for the Pacers are coming from, right? When the lineup on the floor is what it is, when it's usually it's something like this. It's McConnell and let's say Shepherd and Jarris Walker and Siakam and Thomas Bryant, I think is what it was. No, it's Furphy. Johnny Furphy played in the first half. So it was McConnell, Furphy, Walker, Siakam, Bryant. So that big group that had been working for the Pacers with Thomas Bryant instead, I believe, up to Obi Toppin. You look at that group, and McConnell's the only creator, and there's like guys who can make threes, but you don't really think of them as shooters. And so if I'm the Kings, I totally am thinking, yeah, we can go zone, right? I might be able to shake things up here. And it works for a possession or two, and then TJ McConnell just shreds you in the middle, and Jarris Walker throws passes from the free throw line, and Thomas Bryant's hitting threes, and then TJ McConnell's just ruined your life, right? Like that. I get how the Kings got to playing zone there, and I get why TJ McConnell tore him up. I really feel bad that I've gotten this far without talking about Ben Shepherd. He was amazing. I mean, obviously his best game since returning from injury. He was much better tonight than he was in Phoenix. Hit all of his shots, or early cut again, and then 4 straight threes, all dropping. 14 points on 5 shots. That's unreal. That is unreal. 1 rebound with his only other stat in the whole game. Plus 6 for Shepherd. Really huge for the bench. I mean, he's just shooting with the same amount of confidence as last year, but it's going in more. We'll see how much that holds at. But last year, his shot didn't go in, but it looked like it should. And this year it's going in probably a little too much. So he looks sensational. He's playing very good basketball really this season and now already not missing a beat since returning. And he hit the biggest shot of the game to me. The Kings were surging late in the third quarter, maybe the worst stretch of the second half the Pacers had at all. And they got it to 6. I believe they cut it from 12 to 6 on like a 10-3 run. I'm doing some bad math, but they had a run late in the third quarter that made it look like, oh man, the Pacers might not have this one in the bag, because the Pacers lead got up to 14 with 2 minutes to go. It was 82-68 late in the third quarter. Really strong Kings push. They get it to 6 after a tough De'Aaron Fox shot. And with 12 seconds left in that quarter, from McConnell, obviously, Ben Shepherd just drills a corner 3. The crowd was getting into it because the game got close. They fell right out of it. Pacers up 9 to open the fourth quarter. And you know how this goes. It's looked like last year the bench group just immediately goes on a run. Kings take a timeout a couple of minutes into the fourth quarter, and it was never close again. That shot really saved the Pacers from a momentum perspective. Ben Shepherd, fantastic. Jarris Walker hit half of his shots. He's apparently just loves playing in Sacramento. He was quite good. Johnny Furphy made both of his shots and continues to just have a nose for the ball. Thomas Bryant made 3 of his 4 shots and had 4 boards. James Johnson had 2 rebounds and an assist. Everybody who played did good stuff. Everybody. And that's what the Pacers need. Total team effort to get back on track. Nobody's trying to play hero ball. Nobody's sticking. Everybody's defending pretty well. I believe Jeremiah Johnson said on the broadcast that the Pacers were 9th in defense across their last 6 games in this game. And now if you add this 7th one in, I bet it might even be better than that. They're defending well. Their offense looks good. Big test tonight. Golden State is quite good, let's say. Golden State coming off a win over Minnesota after getting smoked by Memphis. So we'll see what kind of group that is. And for the first time ever, Tyrese Haliburton versus Buddy Hield. Should be very interesting to see how that goes. Dustin Dopirak will have the coverage out in Golden State for the Indy Star. Looking forward to reading all the stuff he has about the game. And, we'll be talking about it right here on Locked On Pacers. Last game before Christmas of the year for the Pacers. This week, I still will have a show every day, but there's 2 days without games. So I have some cap stuff I want to get into with two-way guys and the cut down date and 10 days and all that. And I want to talk about the new All-Star game format, mostly so I can talk about Pascal Siakam's All-Star candidacy again after I already did early in the season. So lots of good stuff still to get to today, or this week on Locked On Pacers. Hope you guys enjoyed today's show. So much good stuff to talk about from that Pacers win. Turns out when you win by 27, there's a lot of good stuff that can be talked about. Back tomorrow talking Pacers Warriors and whatever comes out of that game. And then we'll shift into Christmas mode for a little bit before coming back home for Pacers Thunder. So thank y'all for listening. Hope you're having a great day and a good holiday week. If you have some time off with your family, please enjoy it. But thanks for listening during that time. We will see you soon.